I'm Chevy, and today on The Daily Shed, I answer your questions. Hello friends, it's Buy Day here on The Shed. Welcome to the show. If you don't know, Buy Day means that you provide the content. That's not really true, I guess. In reality, you provide like 5-second questions and then I answer them with lengthy answers. So it's more like a request day. Maybe I should rename it. Buy Day was originally intended as it's my day off. I don't have to prepare a topic in advance, and I try not to read the questions in advance so that I can just, whatever happens out of my face, hole, my head, whatever happens, happens. I prefer honest social content as opposed to me writing a script. If you want your question answered on a future episode, hashtag The Shed here on Facebook or here on YouTube. You can also use it on Facebook page, facebook.com/The Daily Shed, or my Twitter, Chevy Dodd. Okay, some questions. I picked a few of the questions for today. My nephew Lance says, what is your game, The 51st State, about? Well, The 51st State is set in the Neuroshima universe, which is a universe originally created by our company as a role-playing game, and it is a post-apocalyptic survival setting. So in this world, we have ruined cities like New York with people living in them. We have mutants running around being mutant-y. And we have robots that are trying to kill humanity. So it's a apocalyptic setting, and in the game you're trying to build a new state, essentially. You're trying to make a new country because the world's in ruin. So it's an extremely cool setting. We have never translated the role-playing game to English, and we never will. But for the people who bought into our campaign for 51st State, which was a pre-order campaign, we published a book. It was like almost 80 pages, so like a little novella that is a story set in the world of Neuroshima. It's a very cool story. It was originally in Polish, and we had it translated. So, board game themed question from John White. Why do you design board games? Has the reason you designed ever changed? Well, when I was a teenager in the 90s, I played every card game I could get my hands on after Magic came out, and I fell in love with the X-Files. And that was 1996, and I traveled with the company to promote the game, and at Origins, we had a booth, and we had tables like this that I would teach on, and directly across the aisle from me was a little table with like a little metal stand and some stuff on it. And the guy sitting there was just bored nobody stopped at his booth. Well, Saturday night during open gaming, somebody walks in with this briefcase and sets it down and says, who wants to play some games? Like, announces this. And within like an hour, there was just lines of people. Everybody was laughing, having a blast. And the next day, he sold out of everything he had at the show. He promised free shipping for anybody who pre-ordered any of his games. I think he had like 4 games there. That was James Ernest. He is the founder of Cheap Ass Games, and he made hundreds of games. And when I saw these games, they were extremely simple, printed on cardstock, and I thought, I could do that. So I did. That's how I got started designing games. The truth is, I had always looked for new creative outlets to try. I've told you on the show before, I collect skills, and I love experimenting with new things and learning new things specifically. So game design was just another outlet for me to flex my creativity. I don't think I'm very good at it. There are people who there are even people who love some of the games that I've made. I'm not one of them. Has it changed? Yes and no. I did it first more out of ego than anything. Later on, it became more of a way to occupy my time and keep myself busy. But I've also designed games for specific purposes. Like I've designed games to play with my little girls. I've designed games that people have requested. Hey, will you design this game for me? Yes. So individual things have triggered new games, but overall, no. I design games just as a way for me to express my creativity in more than just an artistic way, in a brainy, thinky way. It's a way to keep my mind working. And I've always been more of a consumer, I've always been more of a creator and less of a consumer. If you watch the television episode, I'll link it. I've always been a creator. I don't like to sit and just take stuff in. Still on the board game theme. A lot of board game questions. I'm glad you guys watched that episode. Alex Cannon asks, what are your favorite games? I have 2 games that I typically answer this question with, dramatically different. One of them is a game called Acquire. It was first published in 1962 by 3M. It was actually the Minnesota Mining and Machine Company at that time. It wasn't 3M yet. And it's been in and out of production since. It is an amazing, amazing, amazing board game from Sid Saxon. I will never turn down a game of Acquire. By far my favorite game ever. My second favorite is a little tiny card game called Coloretto. It is literally, you flip over a card and you decide where to put it on these 4 little spaces. That's your entire turn. Or you take one of those piles of cards. And it is one of the most complex, brilliant games I've ever played that has almost no rules to explain. Just the elegance of it, and it really makes me think. I love that game. I have lots of other, like Imperial Settlers is one of Portal Games games. I absolutely love Imperial Settlers, and I'll play it anytime, even after doing hundreds of demos. I don't get tired of playing that game at all. Off the board game topic, Skunk Monkey asked, I have a coworker who has a son that just entered the Marines and is struggling a bit. What advice would you give to someone entering the Marines? This is probably story time, and this might make this episode go long. There's one thing that any aspiring Marine needs to understand. Marine Corps boot camp is one of the most physically challenging things you will ever go through. It challenges you. It challenges every muscle in your body. It challenges your ability to work with very little sleep, with very little rest, and it's grueling. But that's not what boot camp is about. That's what boot camp is disguised as. It's disguised as a physical training camp. It's not. Boot camp, Marine Corps boot camp specifically, is a highly controlled, highly regimented psychological training program. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to take your average person and turn them into somebody who can be put through just about anything without snapping. That's the important part to learn. It is very structured. No matter what, you're going to go to boot camp, you're going to get paired up with 70 other guys in a squad bay, and you're going to have to go day by day with these people. And it doesn't matter if you get paired up with 69 other guys that are absolutely flawless Marines. You're going to get in trouble every day. You're going to have to be on your guard because the drill instructors are going to make up things to punish you for if you don't do anything wrong. That's part of the programming. That's part of the psychological program. And you'll see guys get bent out of shape in boot camp because the squad gets in trouble for doing something or whatever, and they go crazy, like, I can't believe you did this, blah, blah, blah. You don't understand. That's part of the program. These drill instructors aren't just making stuff up on the fly. And, they're teaching you through messing with you, essentially. Unless you've been to it, I don't know how to explain it to you. But when you're there, you'll understand that there are going to be days that are absolutely the worst day ever in your life, and you'd think that these drill instructors have nothing better to do with their time but to pick on us. And the truth of the matter is they're picking on you on purpose. It's nothing that you did. It's absolutely nothing. They're not hoping to have a platoon of guys that they can just, daisy walk through all the different exercises that you do in boot camp. Because that means that you don't need to go to boot camp. That's not what boot camp is for. It's to psychologically destroy you and then psychologically harden you into a tough machine. The other thing to remember is boot camp's only 3 months. Regardless of what you do, they're not going to keep you past 3 months. Regardless of how hard you think it is, it can only last 3 months. You're going to get 3 meals a day. You're going to get at least 6 hours of sleep. And in 3 months' time, you're done. Don't freak out about it. That's it. That's all for the questions this week. Nothing to put on the wall. Don't forget, if you'd like to get one of these fancy postcards, all you gotta do is send me a letter. thedailyshed.com/contact is my address, or you can click on the About section of my channel. Send me a letter, I'll send you a postcard back. If you'd like to send me something to put on the wall, please let me know that you intend it to be put on the wall. Until next week, it's been fun. The sun is finally out. I hope to ride my motorcycle after a week of having to drive my truck. That makes me sad. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and don't forget, tomorrow, April 30th, play some board games, and I'll see you next week. The thing is, when you go to school, they teach you the fundamentals of programming, and then you actually learn how to do your job in the field. And for those of us that don't have the opportunity to work with a large group of coders, to have our code reviewed and looked at by our peers, things like this might get skipped. So you go to school and they teach you stuff like this. Okay? This is basic algebra, right? X equals 5. That's also how you make a variable and you assign it something.